I'm Michael Bell with you once again with the CVB Challenge. We're looking at the 66 books of the Bible and showing how a key passage demonstrates that Jesus Christ of Nazareth is the center, the protagonist of that book, hence of the entire Bible. And we've reached a book penned by the prophet Jeremiah called Lamentations, 5 chapters of mourning, of a very mournful expression of disaster. Nebuchadnezzar has come and destroyed the Messiah's holy city, the city of Jerusalem. Where is there any hope in this? And I picked a verse that, like the rest of the book, is very gloomy and very negative. Chapter 4, verse 20. It says, "The breath of our nostrils, the Lord's anointed, has been captured in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the nations." This text expresses the messianic hope of the people. Think prior to this destruction. People had said, oh, the Lord's anointed, God's Messiah, he will protect us. We'll live safely among the nations under his protective shadow. And the idea of a shadow is like this perfectly safe place that no matter how dangerous it is out there, that the Messiah, in a sense, would be able to stretch his wings and protect his chicks, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, no matter what was going on among the nations. Of course, this did not happen. Notice, too, that they call the Lord's Messiah the breath of our nostrils. In other words, he's like the oxygen who fills our lungs. He's the essence of our being. He's what gives us strength. He's what makes us get up in the morning with a sense of expectation that the Lord loves us and he has a wonderful plan for us and so on. But what's happened to this breath of our nostrils, this oxygen who fills our lungs, this one who was to protect us in a dangerous world? Why, he's been taken captive. And this is a reference to Zedekiah, the last king to reign in Jerusalem when Nebuchadnezzar succeeds in destroying the city, destroying the wall, destroying the temple, and taking the king captive. Zedekiah, the last king to reign in Jerusalem, was evil. He reigned 11 years, and it says that he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, 2 Kings 24. And then here comes a description. After 3 campaigns in 605 and 597 and 586 BC, finally Nebuchadnezzar seizes the city of Jerusalem, lays siege to the city, and for 18 months, no one comes in or comes out, and people are starving to death. And finally, there's a breach where, out of desperation, Zedekiah and a few men, they flee and get through the breach and are trying to outrun the Babylonian armies, and they're captured. And it says there that the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him on the plains of Jericho, 2 Kings 25:5. And all his army was scattered from him. Then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they passed sentence on him. And something terrible happens. They slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah right before his very eyes, just before blinding him. So that the last thing he sees with those eyes is the death of his sons. Then they take him captive all the way to Babylon. This is also described in Ezekiel chapter 19. And so the lament. Wasn't he the Lord's anointed? Wasn't he the Messiah? Wasn't he the king that would deliver us? And wasn't he just the oxygen in our lungs and the reason for our hope? And now it's not going to happen. Has God forsaken us? Because this Messiah has certainly not worked out. You may say, well, Michael, how does this point to Jesus? Well, it points to Jesus in a negative way by creating the need for a Messiah who will succeed. This very failure, this very hollow spot, is a mold then that the Messiah needs to fill. He needs to be the Messiah, yes, who is the oxygen in our lungs, who, yes, can provide the shadow and the shelter from the nations, and who will do those things. But unlike Zedekiah, he won't be wicked. Unlike Zedekiah, he won't be conquered by a conquering Nebuchadnezzar and taken into captivity. He will triumph. So in every way that Zedekiah has failed, Jesus, the anointed of God, will succeed. And he can be the oxygen in our lungs. And he will be our protector of any harm that could befall any of us. We put our trust in him as our Messiah who succeeds. Now, if Jesus is on every page of the Bible, shouldn't he be on every page of your life and mine?